You know, tattoos and piercings are pretty common body modifications. But what happens when we get to the extreme? You better believe there's some crazy things out there that you've never seen or heard of before. Guys, grab your coffees, cause right now, we're gonna look at the top 8 most extreme body modifications. Number 8, tusk implants. There's only a handful of people that are known to have this modification, but nonetheless, it really puts them in a category of their own. You pretty much go from looking somewhat human all the way to looking like a World of Warcraft character or one of those final bosses you have to face in video games. These sort of tusks are either placed on the upper portion of the teeth to resemble an elephant/boar, or on the lower parts, giving off those big Papa Orc vibes. Now what really blows my mind is how cheap this procedure is, especially when you compare it to fixing your actual teeth, cause we've all been to the dentist. You know how high those prices are. However, getting tusk implants in certain parts of the world go for less than $1,000, which yeah, it's $1,000, but wouldn't you be expecting something like this to cost more? Number 7, eyeball tattoos. This is arguably one of the fastest rising trends in the body modification world. Created by a world famous body mod artist that goes by Luna Cobra, using a needle, ink is injected into several locations underneath the top layer of the eyes onto the sclera, where it then spreads to pretty much cover the white portion. But unlike some of the other modifications coming up on this list, getting your eyeballs tattooed is a permanent procedure, so you better not have any second thoughts about this, cause there's no going back. Now, while people could get the beautiful eye color of their choice, there are some side effects that may come with it. Some people's eyesight might become more sensitive to light, while others could potentially get an eye infection. And in worst case scenarios, if the needle goes in too deep or if other complications arise, well then that individual could say bye-bye to their vision forever. Oh, and just an FYI, there actually have been some people who've gone blind from this procedure. Anyways, if you're like me, you're probably thinking that this has to be one of the most painful things that could exist on this planet, right? Well, surprisingly, the pain experience varies quite a bit depending on the individual. Some say it hurts a lot, while others say they barely felt anything, attributing the only sort of discomfort they had to having to keep their eyes open the whole time. Number 6, nose removal. This is one of the rarest and most extreme body modifications out there today. A process where a portion of the nose is completely removed, giving it a more skull-like feel to the face. As of now, there's currently only 6 people in the world that have this procedure done, and for those 6, they're pretty much seen as the most extreme in the community. It's kind of like a status thing, similar to driving a Ferrari in a village full of people riding donkeys. I mean, that's actually not the best analogy, but you know where I'm going with this. It's rare. Anyways, none of these people have come out and given explanations as to why they wanted to remove something so important to the human body. And realistically, there's no judgment, just a topic of discussion. But aren't modifications meant to enhance the individual? Doesn't this one in particular kind of seem to tread on the side of handicapping the person? Now, regardless of that, because this is such a new procedure to enter the body modification world, the long-term ramifications aren't really known. Not to mention the 6 people that have this done haven't talked much about their side effects. Like, what happens when you visit a place where the climate is super cold? Or better yet, when you're underwater, does it affect your breathing? How about the amount of bacteria that enters your supposed nose? So many questions, but not enough answers as of yet. Here's the thing. People will always try to one-up each other, which leads me to believe, as crazy as it's gonna sound, this procedure is gonna become much more popular and you're gonna see way more of it. Mark my words, you heard it here first. Number 5, tongue splits. In the body modification world, if nose removal is considered the Ferraris of the community, then tongue splitting would be the Toyota Corollas, in the sense that it's one of the more common mods in comparison. This is a procedure where the tongue is split in half down the middle, giving it a sort of snake-like appearance. On average, it costs around $1,500 to $2,000 to perform, and a lot of people say it's one of the more painful modifications to have done. But the biggest problem that's brought up about this enhancement is the healing process. And rightfully so. We literally use our tongues all day, all night for countless reasons. Whether you're eating, talking, swallowing your own saliva, or sleeping, it's gonna have some sort of effect on you. Not to mention, there is a high risk of infection, but nonetheless, the demand for this procedure is actually quite high. Number 4. Flesh tunnels. Now, flesh tunnels are fairly common when it comes to ears, and the largest earlobe flesh tunnel record belongs to Kalawelo Kaiwi, who expanded them up to 10.5 centimeters or 4.13 inches. But that's not what we're gonna focus on, because you should know that in the ever-evolving body modification world, people are always gonna take things to the next level, and this is no different. The most noteworthy one is a guy by the name of Joel Migler, who got flesh tunnels on both sides of his cheeks, and they measure up to 34 millimeters. In other words, they're ginormous. You can literally see his teeth and tongue, and the amount of things he can do with it is pretty unbelievable. Now, this isn't the only place you can get flesh tunnels in, cause people are also doing this procedure underneath their bottom lip. And even though, like I mentioned earlier, getting them in the earlobes is super common, places like a bottom lip or even cheeks are much more rare. Number 3. Transdermal implants. If for some reason you've always wanted to have spikes on your head, well, these days there's most definitely a way. We're gonna keep things super simple. An anchor-like threaded piece is inserted in between the layers of your skin, and from there, the surrounding tissues heal up around it. And then you can screw on or attach the desired piece that you want. So let's just see what people are actually doing with it. Well, some people have gone as far as giving themselves devil horns. Now, if you don't like that, you can always attach an expensive piece of jewelry. Better yet, why not follow your dreams of becoming a tiger and get whisker attachments instead? Oh, and let's not forget the absolute classic mohawk spikes. Whatever piece you want, I'm sure if you have the money, then they'll find a way to do it for you. Number 2. Subdermal implants. In simple terms, subdermal implants are body modifications that are inserted underneath the skin, giving it a raised effect. Definitely one of the more popular and common body modifications out there, and people actually get very creative with it. Some use it to give themselves horn-like appearances on their forehead. Others go even more heavy with it to give off a more dramatic and unique effect on different parts of their bodies, like their arms. But the most amusing and popular ones worth mentioning are the implants that take on different shapes like skulls, snowflakes, anchors, and even spiders. People will pretty much put them anywhere on their body, with the majority of them going underneath the skin of their hands, while there's also been a huge surge of people getting these implants in their ears now. Number 1. Pinhead. Now, a lot of you guys know the movie Hellraiser, right? And how the main character pretty much has a head full of pins? Well, Wei Shang-Chu is the real-life version of that. Though this one really isn't a permanent or semi-permanent body modifications like the majority on the list, it's more like a damn flex. Cause you see, Wei has set the world's Guinness record for essentially walking around with 2,188 pins on his head. Other than that, there really isn't much more information out on this individual, but I think we can all agree that this would be the coolest Halloween costume, other than the pain part. Alright, question of the day. Which one of these body modifications do you think is the most extreme of them all? Let me know in the comment sections below. Make sure to check out my other videos similar to this. Smash that subscribe button for part 2 of this series. Like this video, and I'll see you guys next Saturday.